Hi everyone, this is Bernie from stampin'up and welcome back to my craft room this week. It's really awesome to have you back here. And this week I am going to be doing something a little different, something a little fun. And that is, I decided when I was thinking through what can I share with you this week that I thought, well, you know what? Why don't I case the catalogue? I haven't done that for a very long time. And I just want to, by doing this video, show you that there are so many examples in our gorgeous catalogue that are there exactly for this reason, that they are there for inspiration, they are there for you to even case if you want, and just to have fun with what we're doing. So I thought I would case. Let's have a look. Where am I this week? I am in the Thoughtful Journey, page 46 and 47. And I thought, let me go back there. Let me go back to these products. I haven't played with them for a few weeks now, and actually have a look at what I can show you on this page. And a couple of cards caught my attention. This card over here and this card over here caught my attention. The others are just as beautiful. This one's quite easy. You would just take your paper and you're just going to heat emboss your flower stamp over that, so that's quite pretty. And this one you would again also just take your paper, die cut out some of the flowers and use your ribbon and a circle die cut there, or even a punch. But I thought, let's do this one first and then I'll show you how I made this. So you're getting two cards today. Isn't that exciting? So we'll start off with this one first. So I've used basic white card base just so that I can secure my designer series paper. And the piece of designer series paper, let me show you, it's this ombre one here, is called Thoughtful Designs Specialty Paper. All right, so it's number 4 on your catalogue. So I've literally just cut mine to the size of my card front, which is 4 1/8 by 5 7/8. So I'm just going to glue that on because it's pretty straightforward. Makes a gorgeous background. So we'll adhere that down, and I'll just run my bone folder over that so that that's nice and stuck. Set that to the side. Then I took a piece of basic white cardstock. It is 3 1/2 inches by 5 1/4, and this is where we're going to do our stamping. So for this, I'm using this large stamp set from the Thoughtful Wishes, and I'm using this stamp set, and I'll show you how we get the color in there. I'm also going to be using the Dearest Friend, and I'm also going to be using the Speckle. So if I start with the biggest stamp, I'm going to come in with some Memento black ink. And if you're wondering what I've just used as my ink pad, I'm actually going to be dropping a video in my newsletter in the next week or two as to how I've transformed one of my ink pads into a black ink pad. So you might want to subscribe to my newsletter to grab that information. I'm now using this stamp, which when they are sort of this look, they can be a little tricky to bring out the color. But I'm going to show you what I've done. And I'm aiming to have those leaves that sort of look, I think they're thistles. I want them to come down, and I want that flower to be in between that leaf. I don't want them to clash. Oh, those just touched. That was close. Okay. So what I did is, because I don't have pretty peacock blending brushes, so I am actually using my blender pen. So if you're a beginner stamper and you don't yet have either the stash or the finances to get all the bits and pieces, which by the way takes a number of years, you can get yourself some ink pads, purchase a blender pen. That's how I started off many years ago with my blending, and it makes it a lot easier. And it's actually a good way to practice blending because you're in a lot more control over your ink. And you may wonder, how did I decide, or looking at that card that I'm casing, what colors, why did I go for Pretty Peacock? Well, I chose that because I looked at the page, and Stampin' Up! Are amazing like this, and they told me the colors they used were Pretty Peacock. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If I just pause there, so if I look at the bottom of my picture, all the colors here were in here. So I looked at the color and I looked at what they used, and I was like, well, it's clearly not Mossy Meadow, it's clearly not Wild Wheat, so it must be Pretty Peacock. So not really that hard in terms of if you know how to read the map, which I consider my catalogue to be. It's just a good map, sort of give me an idea of where I want to be. So you can see I'm just coming in a little bit on the edges of my leaves, and I'm just adding a little bit of definition using that blender pen, just the tip, and tipping it into my ink. So once I'm finished with my Pretty Peacock, you need to clean your blender brush. It's really important to make sure that that tip is nice and clean. So I'm just going to rub that off. There will come a time when you will notice that your blender pen is dry, and that's a good time to change it. But having said that, you do have 2 nibs, so you will get a good innings out of it. Now I'm going to bring in some blending brushes just to do these leaves, and I'm first using light Old Olive. So I'm just coloring in the leaves. And now I'm just going to bring in my Mossy Meadow, the light Mossy Meadow, which is darker than the Old Olive. So instead of using light and dark Mossy Meadow, I actually preferred the combination of combining the Old Olive and the Mossy Meadow. And I'm just dragging the Old Olive light back in over those leaves to get some color. Okay, now how do we pop those thistles? Well, what I've done is I've taken my blender pen once again, the other side, with some Wild Wheat this time, and I'm just doing a swirling motion because I could see again on in the catalogue that it was a golden color, and so I'm just copying the catalogue. All right, that is the extent of the coloring in, and then the little dottage over here is done in Fresh Freesia, and I'm just going to come with that dottage which is in the stamp set, and I'm just stamping first and second generation here and there over my little thistles. I think they're thistles. Is that enough? One more time. Right, fantastic. So we can actually adhere this now to the card front because we've done all the stamping that's required for this part. So I'll adhere that on again with my liquid glue, just making sure my card is opening in the right direction. And all that's left now for me to do is to stamp the Dearest Friend, which I've actually done, and I did that in Memento Black. So I'm just going to get my paper trimmer. I do want this to be straight because it's going on a card that's they're quite straight lines here, so that it's not really that forgiving in terms of a little curvier. If I was to go skew with my hand, oops, that moved. All right, and when you are cutting a thin piece like this, I tend to use the right hand side of my paper trimmer for measuring up to make sure it's straight. So I'm happy with that, and I'm going to place that on some dimensionals. Very quick card, which is why I decided I'm going to give you a double amount of cards today in this week's video tutorial. And I'm sticking this one over there. Okay, now I'm taking some of the embellishments that go in the suite as well, and I'm going to pick these up. They're quite pretty. 2 there and 1 down over there, and that's our first card that we have cased from the catalogue. Let me bring it in. Let me pop it next to the page. How have I done? Have I got it close enough? I hope so. So let's do the second card. Alright, so this is case number 2 that we are going to do together. This one is a square card, and I am using the Thoughtful Journey 6x6 designer series paper for this one. And I loved the autumn colors, probably because we're now in winter. So this is the sheet of paper, and this is what it looks like from behind. And so we're going to use this. We're going to use some basic white. This is to do our stamping, I think so. And then we're going to use some of that gorgeous ombre designer series paper again to cut the die cut out in the background. All right, so shall we get cracking with this one? So for this one, let me just set this all to the side. Of course, you can use any of the designer series paper that you have in your stash for this, but I love this. So this is 4 1/8 by 8 1/4 scored in half. And now I need to cut my designer series paper to match that as well. And we're going to use some of the offcuts for the die cut for the sentiment. So let's go. So we've got 4 1/8, 4 1/8. We've got 4 1/8 by 8 1/2, and then you're going to score it in half. But your card front is square. Hope I'm making sense. Okay. So now I've got a square, and this square is what I'm going to glue straight onto my card front. So that's going to go on here, like so. Now, depending on how you cut that, you're going to have a piece that looks like this. I am going to die cut this. And I'm using the Unbounded Loves die, and I'm taking this large one. I want some of that pretty pinky bluey part, so I'm going to take my cut and emboss machine, plates 1, plate 2, plate 3, and then I'm putting this and then plate 3 on top. Alright, so I'm running this through. Okay, so we've got that. And then we're going to stamp on that in a little while. But while I've got the cut and emboss machine out, we're going to do some stamping and some cutting of that. So let's do the stamping bit first. So we need the big wheat looking stamp. And I'm actually going to stamp this in Pecan Pie this time. I wanted it to still look autumnal. I didn't want the harshness of the black from the ink, so I'm going to stamp that there. While I've got it here, I'm going to color this in very, very quickly. So I'm using my light Pecan Pie, and I'm just coming in on the bottom of my corn. My husband's father and his brother used to farm with wheat, and I'm sure these colors are not altogether authentic. So no doubt when he watches this video he'll give me some feedback as to whether or not the corn leaves look like this when they start to dry. But in my farm they do. Now I'm using some dark Mossy Meadow. I'm just coming in there slightly, just a hint of the green that was. Of course you could do some yellow, but I don't have many yellow blends. So I'm using what I have. Right, and I'm bringing back my Pecan Pie, and I want to just blend in that green, that it's not that obvious. I am going out these lines, Bernie. Alright, cool. So now that I've done my blending, I'm going to cut it with the matching die. Go on there, and then I'm also bringing in this stunning die. Now the difficulty with this one, it's quite fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add some adhesive sheet behind it. That way, a couple of things happen. So I'm just flipping over my designer series paper, and I'm just peeling this this adhesive sheet away. So what happens now is it's going to create a sticky layer at the back for me. so I don't have to faff with glue. So it peels off like this, and it actually makes the designer series paper a little bit firmer. Okay, I'm just going to use my non-paper snip scissors to trim this away because I don't want this getting stuck onto my cut and emboss machine. And if you have tiny bits of the adhesive sheets, don't throw them away. Alright, so now I've got that set up. I can run this in place. Right, so I've got that pretty piece set up there, and I'm just going to roughly cut my cardstock so that I can just fit it in here with my die. So holding that down, running these both through at the same time. And did you know that you can actually run 2 pieces of designer series paper through your cut and emboss machine at the same time too, just as a FYI. Alright, so let's just poke these out with the take your pick tool. You can use your take your pick tool has the little brush, which I have, but it's not close by, so I'm just pushing this out with my take your pick tool. Brilliant. Now if I bring back my card front, I'm going to be looking for, there we go, a little bit in my adhesive sheet that I can grip and gently remove so that I have my bit all ready to go. And what I actually did was I placed this in position over here, and before I put this bit down, I moved it, so stick that down, and I twisted this part down like that. Okay, there we are. And now I'm going to stamp my sentiment, and I'm going to be using Pebbled Path for this. Thinking of you fondly. Pop this as far right as I can go. Right. And now I'm going to adhere this with dimensionals, and then we can put that last bit back. And I've just cut the edges of my dimensionals so that I don't waste it. Some of my ladies that come to card class actually cut all their dimensionals in half so that they get a lot more mileage out of them. I tend not to be that frugal. I tend to use a lot. So I'm popping this in position over here. And now I'm going to just lightly glue my wheat in a few places. And I'm going to put this, actually I shouldn't have put the glue on there, but that's okay. Last thing we need to do to make this look gorgeous is just to bring in those same embellishments I did for the previous card. And we're just going to pop one over here. And we're putting one over here. And then the last one comes in between over here. There we are. So let me bring back the original. This one is slightly different. I know, I've done it again. See what I've done. In the original, there's a white square. Like, da-da, this is what it was meant for. The white square. But do you know what? I actually think, and this is probably why I landed up not changing it, I actually like this on the DSP. I like the intensity that it brings you. So there we go. We cased 2 cards in the catalogue today. A little bit longer video for you, but I just wanted to inspire you and show you. So this one's a variation. I didn't quite case it 100%, but this one I did. So if you are lacking mojo and inspiration, one way to do that is to case the catalogue. Another way to do that is to actually look at the drop-down link in the description and to check out the Sketch Inspirations subscription service that I am offering you, where you can subscribe for a month at a time and receive 2 sketch ideas dropping into your inbox every fortnight. So there are 2 sketches once, so you'll get a sketch every fortnight, and that sketch will have 3 videos and 3 PDFs with it. and you can continue subscribing for as long as you want. So if you really find it hard to come up with ideas, perhaps the Sketch Inspiration subscription service is ideal for you. So go and have a look at that, and by all means click on that and subscribe if that is something that you feel you would benefit from. All right, that's me for this week. It's been so much fun crafting with you. Go out there, look at your catalogue, be inspired, change it up by accident or deliberately, and have fun with the products. Remember, until we meet again, to step, to eat, to sleep, and repeat. Bye!